So good evening, students. So today we shall start with the last segment of electrochemistry. Okay, I don't think so we have done Faraday's law. So the topic we are going to discuss today. Okay, so we shall discuss today about the Faraday's law of electrolysis. Okay, so we shall discuss today about your Faraday's law of electrolysis, and one more class is required. After that, your electrochemistry will be over. So today's topic, yes, it's going to be Faraday's law of electrolysis. Fine. So basically, there are two laws of electrolysis which are given by Faraday. Okay, there are two laws which are given by Faraday. And we know in the very first class, okay, I have discussed in detail about the difference between an electrochemical cell and an electrolytic cell. Okay, I have discussed the difference between an electrochemical cell and an electrolytic cell. So if you all remember, what is the basic difference between an electrochemical and your electrolytic cell? Okay, so once more I'm just coming to that topic. One is your electrochemical cell and the other one is your electrolytic cell. Okay, so the first difference is in electrochemical cell, your chemical energy, the chemical energy is converted into your electrical energy. It's converted into your electrical energy. And we said that in this particular electrochemical cells, okay, the redox reaction is spontaneous. Whereas in electrolytic cell, okay, the electrical energy, it initiates a chemical reaction. After we pass electrical current, chemical reaction occurs. And for the chemical reaction to take place, okay, for the chemical reaction to take place, yes, what is required? Electrical energy is required. First difference. Second difference, in electrochemical cell, your redox reactions are carried out in separate vessels like this. So we have discussed this. Okay, we are towards the end of the chapter. Okay, we have discussed this. Yes. So in the left hand side, we keep the anode, which is the negative terminal. In the right hand side, we keep the cathode, which is the positive terminal. An electron flows from anode to cathode via external circuit like this. Whereas in electrolytic cell, both the anode and the cathode are placed in the same vessel like this. Both the anode and the cathode, they are placed in the same electrolytic solution. Fine. And out here, your anode is the positive terminal and cathode is the negative terminal. So what happens after we pass an electrical current? What happens is some chemical reactions takes place, and due to the chemical reaction, what happens? Some substances will be deposited or liberated at the respective electrode, which we shall study in details in the later segment. Fine. So in an electrolytic cell, after we pass an electric current, what happens is some of the substances are deposited or liberated. So remember, in electrolytic and electrochemical cell, the notations, the symbol of anode and cathode are just opposite. Okay. So what did we discuss just now? After you pass electric current, some chemical reaction occurs. And due to this chemical reaction, some substances will be deposited at the cathode or the anode. Now, this Faraday's law of electrolysis, yes, it gives us the relationship between the amount of charge which is passed through the electrolyte and the amount of substance which are deposited at the electrode like this. Some substances are deposited at the electrode after you pass some amount of electric current. This Faraday's law It gives us the relationship between the amount of the substance deposited and the charge we have passed to the electrolytic solution. Okay. So basically speaking, there are two laws of Faraday's, and the first one is known as Faraday's first law of electrolysis. It is known as Faraday's first law. Faraday's first law of electrolysis. It is known as Faraday's first law of electrolysis. Okay. So yes, what is Faraday's first law? It gives us the relationship between the amount of the substance deposited and the amount of charge we pass through the electrolytic solution. Okay, so let us write down the statement first. So the mass of a substance, deposited or liberated at an electrode is directly proportional. So please write it down. The mass of a substance deposited or liberated at an electrode. The mass of a substance deposited or liberated at an electrode is directly proportional to the quantity of charge. Okay, it's directly proportional to the quantity of charge passed through the electrolyte. So this is your Faraday's first law. It gives us a direct relationship between the amount of a substance deposited or liberated and the amount of charge which we have passed through the electrolyte. Okay, so this is known as Faraday's first law. Okay, now if the substance deposited is solid, so we write down as deposited, but if gases are liberated, that is why if gases are involved, we say the gases are liberated. So try to understand this thing. Say suppose if W gram of a substance, W gram of a substance is deposited on passing Q, capital Q. Q is the symbol of charge. Q is the symbol of charge. On passing Q coulomb of charge through the electrolyte. Fine. So we have supposed that on passing Q coulomb of charge to the electrolyte, we have passed Q amount of charge to the electrolyte. And what is the mass of the substance deposited? Is W. Then according to Faraday's first law of electrolysis, we can write down W is directly proportional to Q. The weight of a substance deposited or liberated is directly proportional to the amount of charge passed to the electrolyte. And we all know what is the unit of charge. The unit of charge is Coulomb. Now, if I remove this proportionality sign, I'll get a constant which is denoted by Z. Okay, I remove the proportionality sign, I get a constant denoted by Z. And this constant Z, it is known as a electron Okay, fine. You are able to see now. Okay, so some network issues. Okay, fine. So we were here. Okay, so what have we done out here? So we have assumed that W gram of a substance is getting deposited, okay, on passing a Q coulomb of charge to the electrolyte. Now, according to Faraday's first law, W is directly proportional to Q. So on removing this proportionality sign, we get a constant Z, and this constant Z is known as a electrochemical equivalent. So I was asking you, what is the relationship between a charge and current? Yes, we all know the relationship. The relationship is equal to Q is equal to I into T. Q equals to I into T. So what is I? Yeah, I is your current. I is your current in ampere. It is your current in ampere. And remember, T is your time in second. T is your time in second. If I just substitute the value of Q out here, I'll be getting W equals to Z into I into T. So what have I done? I've substituted the value of Q. Okay, I've substituted the value of Q out. So there are two relationships, mathematical relationships, which we can derive from here Faraday's first law of electrolysis, namely W equals to Z into Q, and on substituting the value of Q by current and time, W equals to Z into I into T. Okay, so till I think it's fine till here. Now, the most famous question which comes from this particular topic is, of course, the definition of your electrochemical equivalent. Okay, it's going to be the definition of electrochemical equivalent. So, let us define this term. So, define electrochemical, define electrochemical equivalent. Define electrochemical equivalent. Okay, so let us again rewrite the mathematical relationship. We know W equals to Z into Q, or W equals to Z into I into T. So these are the two mathematical relationships. So now you tell me, how are you going to define this constant Z? What is the technique? What is the technique? How are we going to define this constant Z now? Yes, Pratyet, please give me the lead. How are you going to define this Z? In order to define this constant, what are we supposed to do?
Sir, Q को on कर देंगे.
Q को on कर देंगे. Okay. So you guys are being able to hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So what are we going to do? So when Q equals to 1 coulomb. When Q equals to 1 coulomb, okay, Z is going to be W, or when I equals to 1 ampere, T equals to 1 second, again Z is going to be equal to W. So we must take into consideration both these formulas. So yes, now we are in a position to define this electrochemical equivalent. Okay, now we are in a position to define equivalent is defined as the weight of a substance deposited or liberated when 1 coulomb of charge is passed through the electrolyte, or when 1 ampere of current is passed through the electrolyte for 1 second. Okay, when will Z be equal to W? When Q equals to 1 coulomb. So this electrochemical equivalent, the electrochemical equivalent is defined as the mass of a substance. It is defined as the mass of a substance deposited. Okay, when 1 coulomb, when 1 coulomb of charge, when 1 coulomb of charge is passed, when 1 coulomb of charge is passed through the electrolyte, that is when 1 ampere of current is passed for how many seconds? For 1 second. So this is going to be the complete definition of your electrochemical equivalent. Okay, so electrochemical equivalent is defined as the mass of a substance deposited or liberated when 1 coulomb of charge is passed through the electrolyte, when 1 coulomb of charge is passed through the electrolyte, or when 1 ampere of current is passed through the electrolyte for 1 second. So this is the definition and concept of your electrochemical equivalent. Okay, so these are the mathematical relationship or formulas of Faraday's first law of electrolysis. So I hope till here it's okay. Okay, so now let us move towards another very important concept. Let us move towards very important concept. You need to concentrate out here. You need to concentrate out here. Okay. Now, you guys tell me now, what is the charge? What is the charge on an electron? What is the value? What is the charge on an electron? What is the value?
So 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb.
Very good. 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Excellent. This is the charge on one electron. So now you calculate yourself what is going to be the charge on 1 mole of electron. So charge on 1 mole of electron means the charge on 1 electron is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. 1 mole means Avogadro number of electron. So it is going to be this much coulomb. Okay, it is going to be this much. Eh? So yes, so it is going to be how much then? 1.6. 1.6 multiplied by 6.02 multiplied by, I think it's going to be 4. So yes, what is the answer? Someone please help me out with the calculation. 1.6 into 6.02 into 10 to the power 4 coulomb. So yes, what is the value? 964, I think 80 something. It will be something like this, right? Now, in order to make it easier for us to remember, this is approximated to be 96500 coulomb. This is approximated to be 96500 coulomb. So what is this 96500 coulomb then? It is the charge on 1 mole of electron. And this quantity 96500 coulomb, this is also known as your 1 Faraday. This is also known as your Faraday. So what is Faraday? Faraday is the unit of charge. What is 1 Faraday equal to? 1 Faraday is equal to the charge on 1 mole of electron. And what is the value of 1 Faraday? 1 Faraday is equal to 96500 coulomb. Got it? What is this quantity 96500 coulomb? It is the charge on 1 mole of electron. It is the charge on 1 mole of electron. Okay. Now with this idea, now we shall again move forward to the types of typical numericals which might come in our board level. Okay. So let us see now. Let us move forward now. So till here, I think it's understood. Okay. Okay. So you need to understand, if you have any issues, then please let me know. Eh? So I'll give you a redox reaction, or I'll give you a reduction reaction. Say I have aluminium tried positive ion. how many electrons does it require for reduction? Al plus 3. How many electrons does it require? Since the charge is plus 3, it requires 3 electron. It requires 3 electron. Okay, it requires 3 electron. And after gaining 3 electron, it gets deposited as aluminium metal. It gets deposited as Al. Okay. So this is the formula I have written. Now, one aluminium ion requires how many electron? One aluminium ion requires how many electron? It requires 3 electron, and in the process, one aluminium atom is deposited. Okay, and in the process, one aluminium atom is deposited. Okay, so similarly, if I write down 1 mole of aluminium, 1 mole of Al plus 3 ion, it requires how many electrons? Yes, Anishka, it requires how many electrons? 1 mole of Al plus 3 ion, it requires how many mole of electron? If one ion requires 3 electron, 1 mole of ion requires how many electron? Yes, someone please tell me. Yes, please tell me 1 mole of Al plus 3 ion requires how many electron?
3 moles.
It requires 3 moles of electron. And how many mole of aluminium is going to get deposited?
1 mole.
1 mole is going to get deposited. Okay, 1 mole is going to get deposited. 1 mole of Al is going to get deposited. Okay. Okay. So 1 mole of aluminium means what mass of aluminium will get deposited? 1 mole of aluminium means what mass of aluminium? One mole means what mass of aluminium? 1 mole is equal to what? 1 mole का मतलब क्या है? 1 mole of water means how many gram of water? Molecular mass 18 gram. 1 mole of carbon dioxide means what? Molecular mass 44 gram. So similarly, 1 mole of aluminium means it is equal to the atomic mass. So 1 mole of aluminium means 27 gram of aluminium is going to get deposited. When we pass how many moles of electron? 3 moles of electron. What is the charge on 1 mole of electron? What is the charge on 1 mole of electron? This 96500 coulomb. So what will be the charge on 3 mole of electron? Therefore, the charge on 3 mole of electron is going to be 3 times 96500 coulomb. So yes, from Faraday's law, we can calculate the amount of a substance deposited or liberated. We can calculate the amount of a substance deposited or liberated on passing some coulomb of charge. So here we see that on passing this coulomb of charge, 27 gram of aluminium is going to get deposited. 27 gram of aluminium is going to get deposited. Okay, so I'll give you one more example of here. I'm going to give you one more example. So now let us take the example of copper ions. Let us take the example of your copper ions. So we have copper dipositive plus 2 electron. It gets deposited as metallic copper. It gets deposited as metallic copper. Okay. Now you tell me, if I take 1 mole of copper dipositive ion, how many electrons are required? 2 moles of electrons are required, and in the process, 1 mole of copper is going to get deposited. 1 mole of copper is going to get deposited. Okay. So what is the charge on 2 mole of electron? Charge on 2 mole of electron is twice 96500 coulomb. That means if I pass this much amount of charge through an electrolyte containing copper dipositive ion, if I pass 2 Faraday, so this again I can write this as 2 Faraday. 1 Faraday means 96500 coulomb. If I pass 2 Faraday of charge through a solution containing copper dipositive ions, then 1 mole of copper, or what is the atomic mass of copper? 63.5 gram of copper is going to get deposited. 63.5 gram of copper is going to get deposited. Is it clear? Yes or no? Okay, fine. So I think it is clear now. Okay, so these type of questions are very common. So either you'll be asked to calculate the mass of a substance deposited, or you'll be asked to calculate the amount of charge required. Either of these two. Fine. Okay. Now let us consider a general reaction. Now, if this is understood, you should be able to answer this. Eh? So let us consider a metal ion having a charge Mn positive, plus if it gains n number of electron, then your metal atom M will get deposited. Then we have a metal atom M. Okay. Now you tell me, what is the valency of this metal? What is the valency of this metal? What is the valency of the metal out here? Valency means charge. What is the valency of the metal? It is N. The valency is N. Okay. And let us suppose that A is the atomic mass. A is the atomic mass of the metal. And we know that N out here denotes the valency of the metal. It denotes the valency of the metal. Now, using the same concept as we did just now, how many moles of electron needs to be charged or needs to be passed to deposit 1 mole of metal out here? Chalo, batao. Yes, tell me, how many moles of electron needs to be passed to deposit 1 mole of metal? Pratyak, yes?
N moles.
N. So N moles of electron means, what is the charge on N moles of electron?
In Faraday.
N Faraday, or N times 96500 coulomb, okay, will deposit 1 mole of metal. It's going to deposit 1 mole of metal. And if I express this mole in terms of mass, then what can I write? 9 into N into 96500 coulomb is going to deposit what mass of metal? 1 mole of metal means it is equal to the atomic mass. What is the atomic mass we have considered out here? The atomic mass is A. So A gram of metal will be deposited. A gram of metal is going to get deposited. Fine. So on passing this much coulomb of charge, A gram of metal will be deposited. Now, simple unitary method, on passing 1 coulomb of charge, what mass of metal is going to get deposited now? What mass of metal is going to get deposited? Yes, it will be A by N into 96500 coulomb. Okay, so this much gram of metal will be deposited if I pass 1 coulomb of charge. Now let us closely examine this thing, A by N. Okay, what is A? A is the atomic mass. And what is N? N is the valency. So this is the formula of what? Yes, tell me. Atomic mass by valency is the formula of what? This is the formula for calculating what? Atomic mass by valency. Any one of you? Yes, atomic mass by valency is the formula for calculating the equivalent weight of elements. The equivalent weight equals to atomic mass by valency. Okay. So what will be the equivalent mass of copper? It will be the atomic mass 63.5. What is the valency of copper? 2. So this is the equivalent weight of copper. What is the equivalent weight of silver? Atomic mass 108. What is the valency of silver? 1. This is the equivalent weight of silver. So the formula for calculating equivalent weight is atomic mass by valency. So here we have atomic mass by valency. We have atomic mass by valency. Okay. So yes, now I can say therefore on passing 1 coulomb of charge, okay, what is the mass of the substance deposited? Instead of A by N, I can write down E by 96500 gram of metal is going to get deposited. Got it? So I have substituted atomic mass by valency with your equivalent mass. Fine. Now again, let us come towards the first mathematical formulation of Faraday's first law. Let us come towards the first point. Right? Okay, so this has not been derived in NCERT. Okay, now see. So according to Faraday's first law, W was equal to Z into Q. Again, when Q was equal to 1 coulomb, then W was equal to Z. Yes, on passing 1 coulomb of charge, what is the mass of the substance deposited? Z. Here again we have derived that on passing 1 coulomb of charge, what is the mass of the substance deposited? E by 96500. So on passing 1 coulomb, this is the mass of the substance deposited. And according to Faraday's first law, on passing 1 coulomb, this is the mass of the substance deposited. Therefore, yes, on comparing these two relationships, therefore I can say Z will be equal to E by 96500. Z will be equal to E by 96500. So this is another important relationship which can be derived from Faraday's first law. Okay, so we know from Faraday's first law, if I pass 1 coulomb, this is Z is the weight of the substance deposited. Here again we have derived that on passing 1 coulomb, this is the weight of the substance deposited. So E by 96500 is equal to Z. So how are you going to calculate the electrochemical equivalent of silver? Suppose electrochemical equivalent of silver. So what is the atomic mass of silver? What is the equivalent weight of silver? अभी calculate किया था हम लोग ने. Yes, Pratik, what was the value?
108
Divided by
1.
1. So it is 108. 108 divided by 96500. What is the value? 0.00. Yes, कितना आएगा? 0.00000 होना चाहिए. 118 ऐसा ही आएगा, कुछ ऐसा ही आएगा. Okay. So yes, by using this relationship, if you know the equivalent weight, we can calculate the electrochemical equivalent of all the metals. Right? The electrochemical equivalent of silver, approximately, I don't know, I have not calculated. I think it should come out to be this. And how do we calculate the equivalent weight? Simple, atomic mass divided by valency will give us the equivalent mass. Okay. So this is all about your Faraday's first law of electrolysis. This is all about your Faraday's first law of electrolysis. Now we shall move towards the numerical part. Okay. So let us see what type of questions we can expect in your board level. So quickly let us move towards the numerical part. Okay, so please try to solve it on your own. Okay. So how much charge is required to reduce 1 mole Al plus 3 to Al. Okay, how much charge is required to reduce 1 mole Al plus 3 to Al? So just we have to construct the chemical equation out there. What is the chemical reaction? What is the reduction reaction? Al plus 3. Yes, it requires 3 electrons and Al is deposited. So 1 mole of Al plus 3. So 1 mole of Al plus 3, 1 mole of Al plus 3, it requires how many moles of electron? 3 moles of electron. 3 moles of electron means what is the charge on 3 mole of electron? 96500 Coulomb. So this is going to be our answer. Or in terms of Faraday, 3 Faraday. So these all are from your objective type questioning. It's really simple. One answer question. To deposit 1 mole of Al plus 3, 3 moles of electrons are required. So what is the charge on 3 moles of electron? 3 into 96500. Okay. Okay, so let us move towards the next one. 1 mole of MnO4 negative to Mn dipositive. 1 mole of MnO4 negative to Mn dipositive. Okay, so how many moles of electrons are required for the reduction of MnO4 negative to Mn dipositive? So MnO4 negative is getting reduced to Mn dipositive. So what do we require out here? Yes, what is missing out here? What do we require? We require the number of electrons which are involved in this particular process. Now, you tell me what is the oxidation number of manganese in MnO4 negative? What is the oxidation number of manganese? What is the oxidation number of manganese in MnO4 negative? So let the oxidation state of manganese be X. So what is the oxidation state of oxygen? -2. The oxidation number of each oxygen is -2. There are 4 oxygen, 4 into -2. And what is the overall charge? It is equal to -1. MnO4 negative, right? So the sum of oxidation number is equal to -1. So what is X equal to? X is equal to 7. So here the oxidation number of manganese is +7. And here the oxidation state of manganese is given out to be +2. So what is the difference in the oxidation number of manganese during this reaction? They differ by how many units? The oxidation number of manganese, it differs by how many units? The oxidation number of manganese, it differs by how many units? Here it's 7, here it's 2. So it differs by how many units? It differs by 5 units. That means how many electrons are involved out here? 5 electrons are involved. Fine. How many electrons are involved? 5 electrons are involved out here. So now the question becomes really easy. So 1 mole of MnO4 negative, 1 mole of MnO4 negative, it requires how many mole of electron? 5 mole of electron. Means what will be answer? 5 times 96500 Coulomb. 5 times 96500 Coulomb. Okay, it's a straightforward, simple questioning. It's a straightforward, simple question. Okay. Now let us move towards the second category of problem. Okay, let us move towards the second category of problem. So how much electricity is required to produce? How much electricity in Faraday, it's mentioned in Faraday, is required to produce 40 grams of aluminium from molten Al2O3. So yes, please copy this question. How much electricity in Faraday? Now it has been mentioned out here. We have to give our answer in Faraday. How much electricity in Faraday is required to produce 40 grams of aluminium from molten Al2O3? So what is the equation? Any one of you, what is the equation? Al2O3. 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 Okay. Now, this means how many aluminium ions are involved out here? 2 aluminium plus 3 ions are involved. And how many oxide ions are involved out here? 3 oxide ions are involved. 3 oxide ions are involved. Okay, so in molten Al2O3, it means molten means it dissociates. Okay, so in the dissociated state, it produces 2Al plus 3. So I can write down the equation now. So 2Al plus 3, okay, requires how many electron now? Requires how many electron to produce Al? 2Al. Yes, it requires how many electron? 2Al
6.
plus 3, 6 electron, because 1 Al plus 3 will require 3 electrons, so 6 electrons. Now what I can do is, instead of taking this 2, 2 1s are 2, 2 3s are 6, 2 1s are 2. Okay, so I can write down 1. Yes, as before I can write down 3. As before I can write down 1 out here. It's not an issue. Same thing, okay, I'm just dividing everything by 2 out here. So if I pass 3 moles of electron, what is the charge on 3 moles of electron? It is 3 Faraday. In terms of Faraday, I can write 3 Faraday. Charge on 3 mole of electron will be 3 Faraday. In terms of Coulomb, it will be 3 times 96500. So how much aluminium will get deposited? 1 mole means it is equal to 1 mole of aluminium means it is equal to the atomic mass, 27 gram. I can write like this. Okay, now I'm supposed to find out what amount of electricity is required to deposit, not 27 gram, rather 40 gram. So now it becomes really easy. Okay, so 27 gram of aluminium requires how much Faraday? 3 Faraday of electricity. So 40 gram of aluminium will require how much? It will be 3 Faraday divided by 27 times multiplied by 40. So 3 9 are 27. So it will be 40 divided by 9 into F. So this will be answer. Okay, 4.44. So this will be 4.44 Faraday. So as I told you before, either you'll be asked to find out the amount of charge, or the amount of charge will be given, you'll be asked to find out the weight of the substance deposited. Okay, so I don't think so you have any confusion out here. Okay, fine. So you just have to formulate the reaction. You just have to formulate the reaction out here. Okay, fine. So let us quickly move towards again another category of problem out. Okay, so write it down. How many hours does it require to reduce? How many hours does it require to reduce 3 mole Fe tripositive Fe tripositive to Fe dipositive with 2 ampere current, with 2 ampere current? So this is the question. Okay, so how many hours does it require to reduce 3 mole of Fe plus 3 to Fe dipositive with 2 ampere of current? So someone please give me the lead. Someone please give me the lead now. How am I going to solve this? Yes, what is going to be the equation? What is going to be the equation? Just give me the equation.
So Fe tripositive plus 1
How many
electron
moles?
equals
How many moles? How many moles?
3 moles.
3 Fe tripositive. Okay, it's getting reduced to ferrous iron. We need to balance first. So how many electrons are required? How many electrons are required?
3.
3 electrons are required. 3 electrons are required. Fine. Okay. So how many hours does it require to reduce 3 mole of Fe3? So to reduce, I can say to reduce 3 mole of Fe plus 3, how many coulombs of charge are required? How many coulombs are required? 3 mole of electrons are required, means 3 into 96500 coulomb of charge is required. To reduce 3 mole of ferric iron to ferrous iron, 3 moles of electrons are required. 3 moles means this much amount of charge is required. So this is the answer in charge. This is the answer in coulomb. But here we are supposed to find out the time in hours. Okay, now which relation will we use? Now we know that Q is equal to I into T. We know this relationship. What is the amount of charge required? The amount of charge required is this much to reduce 3 mole of ferric iron. So let us substitute the value of charge. 3 times 96500. And what is the amount of current passed? 2 into T. Fine. So Q equals to I into T. This is the amount of charge in terms of current and time. So what is the time then? So it will be 1.5 into 96500. Yes, my answer will be in which unit? My answer will be in which unit? So in this relationship, remember I is the current in ampere and T is the time in second. But I need the answer in hours. So how will I change this second into hours? I will divide by 60. I'll get the answer in minute. Again, if I divide by 60, I'll get the answer in hours. So this is the answer. This is the answer. Okay. So yes, this type of questions might come. Either you are asked to find out the time, or you might be asked to find out the current. If you know the charge, we can easily find out the unknown quantity like this. So yes, from this particular segment, we should be able to solve any types of questions. So we should be able to solve any type of question. Okay. So let us move towards the last problem. Let us move towards the last problem. I'll give you some more additional problems. Okay. So silver is electrodeposited on a metallic vessel of surface area 900 centimeters square. Okay, so this is the surface area. By using a current of 0.5 ampere for 2 hours. Okay, for 2 hours. Calculate the thickness of silver deposited. Calculate the thickness of silver deposited. So one more additional information is given. Density of silver. Density of silver is given out to be 10.5 gram per centimeter cube. 10.5 gram per centimeter cube. Density of silver is equal to 10.5 gram per centimeter cube. So this is the density of silver which is given. This is the density of silver which is given. Okay. So silver is electrodeposited on a metallic vessel of surface area. Surface area is given out here 900. Current is given 0.5 ampere. The time is given 2 hours. We have to calculate the thickness and density of silver is given. Density of silver is given. So we have to use the basic concepts of maths out here, right? Okay. So we have a vessel like this. We have a vessel like this. Okay, and what is the surface area of this vessel? What is the surface area given? It's 900 centimeter cube. So silver is electro deposited out here, right? Silver is electro deposited means silver is deposited out here. Silver is deposited out here. Okay, silver is electro deposited on this vessel. So what are you supposed to calculate now? You are supposed to calculate the thickness. You are supposed to calculate the thickness out here, right? So now if I write down the area multiplied by thickness will give me what? Area multiplied by thickness will give me what?
Volume.
Volume. Exactly. Area multiplied by thickness will give us volume. So area is already given out here. So in order to find out this thickness, okay, area is already given. In order to find out this thickness, what do we require to find out? क्या लगेगा मुझे? What do I need to find out? Volume. And what is the formula of density? Density is equal to mass by volume, since density is given. Got it? And if I find out volume of silver deposited, then I'll easily get the thickness. Since area is given. How will you find out the volume? Density is given. I'll find out the mass of silver deposited. Bus. I'll find out the mass of silver deposited then. Okay, so what is the mass of silver deposited? Let us see now. Which formula are you going to use out here? Which formula are you going to use out here? So silver, what is the valency of silver? Ag positive. It requires 1 electron. It gets deposited as metallic silver. And remember, what is the atomic mass of silver? The atomic mass of silver is 1088. The atomic mass of silver is 108. Okay. So you are passing Q equals to I into T. So what is the amount of current you are passing? What is the amount of current? 0.5 ampere. What is the time required? 2 hours means 60 into 60. Fine. So what is the value? What is the value? So if I remove this decimal, this will get cancelled. 360 multiplied by 5. Yes, कितना आएगा ये? कितना कूलम? 5 zeros are 0, 5 6 are 30, 0 3 left over, 5 3 are 15. 1800 coulomb. 1800.
2 hour and a time.
Achha, sorry. 1800. So I think it will be multiplied by 2 again. Yes. So it will be 2 18s are how much? 36. 3600. Okay. So this will be 10. Yes, it is 2 hours. This much coulomb. Fine. So we have calculated the amount of charge. We are passing this much amount of coulomb. Now from this equation, you tell me if I pass 96500 coulomb, what mass of silver will get deposited? If I pass 1 mole of electron, if I pass 96500 coulomb, according to this equation, if I pass 1 mole of electron or 96500 coulomb of charge, what mass of silver will get deposited? What is the atomic mass of silver? 108 gram of silver will get deposited. But I am passing what coulomb of charge? I am passing 3600 coulomb. On passing 3600 coulomb, what is the mass of silver deposited? 108 divided by 96500 multiplied by 3600. Yes, someone please give me the answer. Give me the answer. I need the answer. What is the weight? What is the weight? What is the weight of silver deposited on passing 3600 coulomb? 108 multiplied by 3600 divided by 96500. Yes, someone please. So it's going to be 4.02, I suppose. It's going to be 4.02 gram. Okay, 4.02 gram of silver is deposited if I pass 2 ampere of current for 2 hours. So this is the weight of the silver deposited. Now I know density is equal to mass by volume. So what is the density given? 10.5. What is the mass of silver deposited? 4.02. So what is the volume of silver deposited? Therefore, volume is going to be 4.02 divided by 10.5. What is the unit? Centimeter. This is the volume of silver deposited. Okay, centimeter cube. This is the volume of silver deposited. But yes, we are not supposed to find out the volume. We are supposed to find out the thickness. What we are supposed to find out? We are supposed to find out the thickness. Now, say area. What is the area given? 900 centimeters square. Therefore, we can write it down. What is the area given? 900. What is the thickness? We don't know. Let it be x. What is the volume? 4.02. So therefore, thickness x will be equal to 4.02 divided by 900. And what will be answer in centimeter? So therefore, the value of x is 4.2.
The volume तो 4.02 by 10.5 है ना?
Achha, 4.02 divided by 10.5. Sorry, I missed out this 10.5. It will be 10.5 divided by 10.5. Is it okay now? Okay, so it's going to be 4.2 into 10 to the power minus 4 centimeter. So this is our answer. So these type of questions are very common. Eh? Okay, so as soon as you see density, don't panic. Eh? Okay, so from the density, we find out the volume. From the density, we find out the volume in this way. And from the volume, yes, using this simple relationship, we can find out the thickness. Okay, so can you solve such type of questions now? Yes, can we solve such type of questions? Okay, fine. So yes, we should be able to solve it. So there is no such thing you cannot solve it. Okay, it's really simple. You just need to construct the reduction reaction. You just need to know the number of electrons. Don't worry about the atomic mass. Remember the atomic mass of silver. Okay, and most probably in your exams, atomic mass will be given. No need to worry about the atomic mass. Just the concept is very important. Eh? The concept is very important. Okay. Okay, so another question. Okay, I'll just construct the equation. You do it yourself, right? How much charge is required to reduce? How much charge is required to reduce 1 mole of water to oxygen? How much charge is required for oxidation of 1 mole of water to oxygen? How much charge is required for the oxidation of 1 mole of water to oxygen? So I'll just construct the equation. So we have water out here. It's getting oxidized to O2. It's getting oxidized to O2. So if I balance oxygen like this, if I need to balance oxygen, I need to multiply by half out here. I need to multiply by half O2. So how many hydrogen are involved out here? How many hydrogen ions are there? There are 2 hydrogen ions. Okay, so this is the equation. So 2 hydrogen atoms. Oxidation means there will be an increase in oxidation number like this. 2H positive. Plus how many electrons are involved out here? 2 electrons will be involved. So this is the reaction when water gets oxidized to oxygen. 2H, 2H positive. The total charge, positive charge is 2H, 2 positive. The total negative charge should be 2 negative charges. So 1 mole of water to get oxidized to oxygen. 1 mole of water. I'm not saying 2 mole. The question says 1 mole of water. So I kept 1 out here. Fine. So 1 mole of water. 1 mole of water requires how many moles of electron? 2 mole of electron. 2 mole of electron means what amount of charge? 2 into 96500 coulomb of charge. So this is the answer. Got it? So why I have kept half oxygen out here? Because the question says 1 mole of water. The question says 1 mole of water. The question says 1 mole of water. So this is all about your Faraday's first law of electrolysis. So definitely 110% you should be able to solve questions from this topic. It is the easiest one in your electrochemistry. It's the easiest topic. Okay? The questions are really simple, direct questions. Okay, you need to practice a bit. Yes, and I'm sure you guys can do this type of questions. So I'll be sending more additional questions today. Solve it. Okay, so this we have discussed Faraday's first law. Now let us move towards your Faraday's second law of electrolysis. Let us move towards your Faraday's second law. Faraday's second law of electrolysis. Okay, now let me draw 3 electrochemical cells out here. Let me draw 3 electrochemical cells. I'll draw 3 electrochemical cells like this. I'll draw 3 electrochemical cells. Okay, and these electrochemical cells, they are connected in series. Right? So here I have zinc sulfate solution, aqueous. Here I have copper sulfate solution, aqueous. Here I have silver nitrate solution, aqueous. And these are now connected in series. Okay, we have some electrodes out here. We have some electrodes out here. We have some electrodes. I'm drawing the electrodes like this. Okay, and these are connected in series like this. And what is the significance that these are connected in series? What is significance? These are connected in series means what? They are connected in series. Okay, so these electrolytic solutions, these are connected in series. So if I connect in series, yes, I think from your physics knowledge, I think if they are connected in series, the same amount of current is going to pass to the electrolyte. Is it so? A different amount of current will pass. Same or different?
Same.
Same. Yes, same. Okay. So according to this Faraday's law, if 2 or more electrolytic solutions containing different electrolytes, obviously containing different electrolytes, are connected in series, then the weight of the substances, deposited at different electrodes is directly proportional to their equivalent weights is directly proportional to their equivalent weight. Is directly proportional to their equivalent weight. Okay, got it? Now you tell me, in the first electrolytic solution, we have zinc sulfate solution. So what will be deposited at the electrode? Which substance is going to get deposited at an electrode? If I take zinc sulfate, what will get deposited at this electrode? Zinc. If I take copper sulfate, which substance will get deposited? Copper. If I take silver nitrate, which substance will get deposited? Silver. So here zinc will get deposited, here copper will get deposited, here silver will be deposited. And it states that when the same amount of current is passed, then the weight of this substance deposited is directly proportional to their equivalent weight. Okay, so that means the weight of zinc which is going to get deposited is directly proportional to the equivalent weight of zinc. The weight of copper deposited will be directly proportional to the equivalent mass of copper. The weight of silver deposited will be directly proportional to the equivalent weight of silver. Yes? So if I take any of these two equations, if I take equation 1 and 2, if I can write weight of zinc deposited by weight of copper deposited will be equal to equivalent weight of zinc divided by equivalent weight of copper. Yes, I can write this. Or if I take equation 1 and 3, what can I write? Weight of zinc by weight of silver. If I take equation 2 and 3, I can write weight of copper by weight of silver is directly proportional to the equivalent weight. So these are all about your Faraday's second law of electrolysis. It gives us the relationship between the different weight of the substance deposited in terms of their equivalent weight when the same amount of current is passed through each electrolytic solution. Provided this law is applicable, provided the same amount of charge or the same amount of current is passed through different electrolytic solutions. Okay. So majority of questions are going to be based from Faraday's first law. Okay, but nonetheless, please remember this Faraday's second law of electrolysis. Okay, so before winding up this chapter, I'll give you some additional informations out here. Okay, just note it down. The percentage of current efficiency. The percentage of current efficiency is equal to actual current divided by ammeter current multiplied by 100. Or this can also be written as actual deposited mass at electrode actual mass deposited on electrode okay, the mass deposited on basis of Faraday's law multiplied by 100. You just write down the formulas out here. Formulas लिख के छोड़ दो. Okay, so sometimes yes, you can be asked to calculate the current efficiency as well. So these are the formulas for calculating the efficiency of a current. These are the formulas for calculating the current efficiency. Okay. Oh, fine. So I'm just winding up with this topic now. Okay, I'm just winding up with this Faraday's law. Now see, okay, since we have some time left, So I'll just I'll give an introduction to this. I'm just going to give an introduction to this. Now, the last topic is going to be batteries and cells. Okay, so that we shall do in the next class. So today I shall just introduce you to the different types of products upon electrolysis. Okay, so we are going to discuss out here electrolytic cells. We are going to discuss out here electrolytic cells. We are going to discuss electrolytic cells. Okay, so as I told you before, in case of electrolytic cells, after you pass a current from an external circuit, what type of current? Direct current. After we pass a direct source of current, then, okay, what will be initiated? A chemical reaction will be initiated, because of which some substances will be deposited or liberated. Right? Fine. So here, basically the topic we are going to discuss is your product of electrolysis. Products of electrolysis. Right? Say, how do we construct a electrolytic cell? Yes, we have a simple arrangement like this. So in an electrolytic cell, remember both the electrodes are immersed in the same solution. Fine. And remember the electrodes are of two types. Right? The electrodes are of two types. So number one is known as a inert electrodes. They are known as a inert electrodes. Inert electrodes means they do not participate in the chemical reaction. And examples of inert electrodes are carbon rods or graphite rods or platinum electrodes. These are all inert electrodes. But when the electrodes also participates in the reactions, these are known as active electrodes. Yes, it can be zinc, it can be made up of copper, etc., etc. So there are two types of electrodes. Okay, one is an inert electrode. It just acts as an electrode, no reaction occurs. Okay, it does not participate actively in the reaction. And the other is known as an active electrode. In case of active electrode, yes, these electrodes also participates in the reaction. Okay, so again, we have an external source of electric current out here. So we have these two electrodes. So now remember, we have the anode out here. Anode is the positive, not the negative. We have cathode out here. The cathode is the negative, not the positive. It's just opposite to that of a electrochemical cell. Got it? So I'll just give you an idea. First, let us discuss the electrolysis of molten sodium chloride. Molten sodium chloride, not aqueous. I'm not talking about aqueous out here. I'm talking about molten sodium chloride. Fine. So if I take molten sodium chloride out here, if I take molten sodium chloride, after I pass electric current, which ions will be formed? Sodium chloride dissociates to give you which ions now? Sodium chloride on dissociation will give you which ions? It will produce sodium ion and chloride ion. So we have positive ions, cations, sodium, negative ions, chloride. Now you tell me, where will the sodium ions migrate? Where will the cations migrate? Towards which electrode? The cations will migrate towards which electrode? Tell me, the cations will migrate towards which electrode? Anode is the positive electrode, cathode is the negative electrode. So ions, they will migrate towards the opposite electrode. So where will this sodium ion migrate? They will move towards the negative electrode, that is the cathode, and where will the anions migrate? Towards the anode. So we say the cations, they migrate towards the cathode C2C, and here the anions, they migrate towards the anode C2C, A2A. It's very easy. Cations migrate towards the cathode, anions, they migrate towards the anode. Fine. So what will be the reaction which occurs at the anode now? What will take place at the anode? At anode, what will migrate? Anions, right? Okay, and at cathode, what will migrate? The cations will migrate towards the cathode. So at anode, which ions are migrating? Anions, chloride. Yes, what will this chloride do? They contain a negative charge, they will release an electron and itself will get converted into a chlorine gas. Okay, so if we can mute your speaker, that would be great. Someone, please, I'm getting disturbed. So what happens at the anode? Chloride ion, they will undergo oxidation. They will lose an electron, one electron, since one negative charge, they lose an electron and chlorine gas will be liberated. So chlorine gas is liberated at the anode. Chlorine gas is liberated at the anode. So what are the products of electrolysis during molten NaCl? Product of electrolysis is chlorine gas is liberated at the anode. So what happens at the cathode? Which ions will migrate? Which ions will migrate? Cations. What is the cation out here? Na positive. So yes, it has a single positive charge. It will gain this electron and it will get deposited as metallic sodium. So at the cathode, remember, yeah, but the cathode mein sodium will be deposited. Sodium will get deposited. At the anode, chlorine gas is going to get liberated. Chlorine gas is going to get liberated. Now, as before adding number of electrons, lost and gained should always be same. So I can write down this equation. Sodium ion plus chloride ion gives us sodium plus half Cl2. So do you think you need to memorize all this? No. Just by looking at this, we can easily predict what are going to be the products of electrolysis. Okay, we can easily predict what are going to be the products of electrolysis. So here, remember guys, we are discussing electrolysis of molten NaCl. We are discussing electrolysis of molten NaCl. Okay, now you write it down. Electrolysis of aqueous NaCl then. So write it down. Electrolysis of aqueous NaCl. Electrolysis of aqueous NaCl. So here we have molten NaCl. Now I'm going to discuss electrolysis of aqueous NaCl. Fine, I'm going to discuss electrolysis of aqueous NaCl. So what is the difference now? What is going to be the difference between molten and aqueous? So in case of aqueous, I have water molecule as well. I have water molecule as well. Okay. So this water also dissociates to form H positive and OH negative ions. It dissociates to form H positive and OH negative ions like this. Okay, so now you tell me which ions are going to migrate towards the cathode. Which are the ions which will migrate towards the cathode? Cathode में कौन सा ion migrate करेगा? Tell me. Which ions will migrate towards the cathode?
Sodium.
Yes. Sodium ion as well as
hydrogen.
H positive ions will migrate. Similarly, which ions will migrate towards the anode? Chloride ion will migrate along with hydroxide ion. Now, molten there was no issue. Only one ion was migrating, but in aqueous solution, yes, we have to consider the ions from water molecule as well. Now, do you think both the ions will get reduced out here? Both the ions are going to get oxidized out here? No, that is not the case. Okay. So obviously, which ions will get reduced? The one which has higher redox potential will get reduced, and the one which has higher oxidation potential is going to get oxidized. Okay. So you just note it down out here. You just note it down out here. You just note it down out here. Okay. So cathodic reactions will be the one with higher reduction potential, and that means the one which has higher reduction potential, okay, out of Na positive and H positive, the one which has higher reduction potential is going to get deposited at the cathode. And similarly, the anodic reactions will be the one with lower reduction potential. Shall I write it down? Now, where will you get this information from then? So you'll get this information from the electrochemical series. Okay, you just go through the electrochemical series, and these are also known as a discharge potential. Right? These are also known as a discharge potential. These are also known as a discharge potential. Okay. So I'll just, for your reference, I'll just give you one more additional information. I think this will be helpful. Okay, just write it down. Sodium ion, comma, calcium dipositive, magnesium dipositive, zinc dipositive, copper dipositive, silver dipositive. Okay, so these are arranged in increasing order of deposition at cathode. These are arranged in increasing order of deposition at cathode. So this means if there is a competition between silver and sodium ion, okay, silver ion will get deposited rather than sodium ion. So anions के लिए again we have sulfate ion, we have nitrate ion, we have hydroxide ion, we have chloride ion, we have bromide ion, we have iodide ion. Again, these are arranged in order of increasing order of deposition at the anode. Increasing order of deposition at the anode. Okay, so today you just copy this. So 2-3 topics are remaining from here. Okay, so we shall conclude this along with your batteries in the next class. Okay, we will conclude this as well as batteries in the next class. Fine. So if you get some time, go through the products of electrolysis by yourself.